All right, we are going to get started. Listen, I am so glad you're with us. For those of you guys watching this live, I know there's a lot of you on. For those of you guys watching the recording later, I hope you get the most amount of effectiveness. Over the years, we've helped so many different buyers, hundreds of buyers in the past, and we've learned a lot from that experience. And from all that experience, somebody told us, hey, wouldn't it be amazing if you put together a masterclass or a live webinar, a pre-recorded webinar around what it takes to have massive success when buying the home? Because the feedback we've gotten, whether our clients have worked with us or other agents, or even if it was just a previous time they purchased a home, is that had they have been more prepared as to what the process looked like, the process actually would have been enjoyable. So my intention today is to walk you through the 5 key strategies in buying a home in today's dynamic market. It doesn't matter if you're buying a home in a competitive market, whether you're looking at a home with multiple offers, single offers, or if you're like a lot of our clients, if you're buying homes that are not even on the market at all. I'm going to give you all the strategies that you need to know right now so that when it comes time to actually purchase a home, it's fun, it's enjoyable, and it's as stress-free as possible. So, as I covered earlier, I'm going to give you those 5 key strategies today. We're not going to take a whole lot of your time, but I'd like to cover those right now and how we can bring you success. So, number one, it is so super crucial for you to outline your strategy first. It's super crucial for you to outline your strategy first. Here's what that looks like. If you're working with us or another real estate agent, or you might be watching this and you're in a different state, there's a handful of things that you should be ferociously aligned on before you start the process. Now, when you choose to sit down with us, before we even take a step into somebody else's home, a potential one that you may purchase, we're going to go over some key things in a meeting, and this could be over a simple coffee. It could be at your home. It can be in our office. We can do it over a Zoom webinar or digitally, FaceTime if that's easier for you. But we're going to cover a handful of things. Number one, you and I are going to get crystal clear on our needs together, meaning what are the things that are the non-negotiables in your home purchase. Number two, we're going to cover what the showing process looks like. Most consumers and most agents, here's their showing process. They just say, you know what, I saw a home on Zillow. It looks really cool. I need to see it in 4 hours. Are you available? And then the agent's not available. And then automatically that creates friction and stress because there's no process. We won't allow that to happen to you. The third thing that's really important is what money is due when. And here's what I mean by that. It's not okay to go look at homes, write a contract, and then be completely in the dark over the things you need to write checks for and when that money's due and who you're supposed to pay for it. It would be amazing if you knew that first. The fourth thing we're going to cover, is the inspection process. What are the things that you should be worried about? What are things that we should kill a deal over? What are the things you shouldn't be worried about? What type of inspections do you need to have? And when all that inspection work is done, what's the action plan around getting that solved for the items that actually make sense? After that, from the inspection period to the day you take keys, what does the closing process look like? We call that the hurry up and wait period. There's a lot of dead time there for those of you guys that are financing your new home or your next home. You know that there's a lot of documentation in this process. We're going to walk you through all of that and prepare you to make that super simple. And then finally, we're going to cover what it means to be financed the right way, to get pre-qualified the right way so that you can have the most amount of certainty when buying your next home. All right, let's move on to number 2. Let's talk about success in viewing homes. I mentioned this earlier in the masterclass. I'll mention it again. The average consumer working with the average realtor is online like 10 hours a day looking at every portal they can get their hands on, and they do a lot of micro communication. And what I mean by micro communication is, hey, I saw this home last minute. I need to go see it right now because I'm worried I'm going to lose it. Do you have time to go look at it today? And your real estate agent, although I'm sure they're amazing, they're busy, they're running a business, and they can't commit to a showing within 4 hours. And like I mentioned earlier, that creates a lot of stress and friction in the process that, frankly, doesn't need to exist. So I wrote down 3 things for this part. Who chooses the showings? This is really, really, really important. In our opinion, if you're working with a great real estate agent that knows the market, that has a ton of experience, that has a proven process to get you to the finish line, you're going to allow them to choose the showings. The reason why is because they know the market, and oftentimes the more homes we see, the harder the process becomes. So how does that look? Your real estate agent, hopefully it's us, we're going to choose the 4 to 5 best homes on the market based on the needs that we discovered during our buyer strategy session I went over in step 1. Once we find those, we're going to go through every single home, and if it doesn't work, we're going to schedule another appointment to keep that going. Um, I wrote on the second part of this to keep every outing limited to 5 showings. And here's why we recommend that. I know myself, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of other real estate agents I know have all been guilty of showing like 16, 18, even 21 homes in a single day. And here's what happens at the end of it. Your real estate agent, us, or anybody else, and you are super exhausted on the process. You're emotionally worn out. You know, if it's hot, you're like, there's just so many bad things that happen. But here's where it gets really bad. You start bleeding features home to home, meaning the real estate agent asks you from a perspective, hey, what'd you think about the homes? What was your favorite home? And you say, well, I like the one with the pool, the granite kitchen, the gray walls, and that huge master bedroom upstairs. And the real estate agent looks at you and they say, you just described 3 different homes. There wasn't one home that had all of those features. And again, here's where the stress and the friction sets in because you have lack of clarity over what you're looking at because we saw too many at one outing. Now, I don't want to confuse you. If it takes you 50 homes to find your dream home, that's totally okay. What we're recommending is that you don't see 50 homes at one time because it doesn't serve you, the client. And remember, that's the only thing that we're after right now. The third thing that I'm going to tell you is after every single time we show you a home, we're going to ask you if you'd like to buy that home. Now, I want to be very clear. That's not to get a commission check. That's not to speed up the process. That's not to get you to buy a home you don't want to buy. But if we don't ask the question, we don't know how to move forward. So if the answer is no, that's totally okay. What we would ask from you is that you just simply give us 2 to 3 reasons why that home is not a fit. We're going to take notes around that. And if there are any non-negotiables in that list, meaning I don't want a home that has that type of kitchen, then what we're going to do is we're going to write that down, and the commitment we'll make to you is that we will never show you a home with that type of kitchen again. You see, the more homes we see together, the more efficient the process gets. That's our commitment to you. Number 3, here's what I wrote down. You need to know the purchase contract. You really do. And I see it too much. I ask a lot of potential clients, hey, have you bought a home before? And they say, yeah, we've bought a home before. And I say, tell me about the process. What did you like about it? And they'll give me what we liked or what they liked rather. And then I ask, what did you not like? And they said, you know what? We don't think we were prepared for the process. And of course, we ask, what does that mean? And they say, well, when it came time to write an offer on the home that we loved, it was a very overwhelming, stressful circumstance that we had a lot of uncertainty with. And I said, well, what would have given you more certainty in that process? And most of them say, if we just knew how much money we had to pay and what we were signing before we had to sign the document, it would have made the process a lot easier. So when you and our team sit down and have a discussion around your needs and the process and all that fun stuff, one of the things that we're going to include in that meeting is a sample purchase contract. I believe that you should not be reviewing arguably one of the most important contracts of your life the time when you have to sign it. That's unfair to you as a consumer. So we're going to give you a sample contract and we're going to highlight all the things that you need to know. It would be worth 10 minutes of your time to review that. So that way, when you find that home and you're totally in love with it, signing the contract is just a mechanic of getting what you want. It doesn't breed more stress and anxiety. Okay, so it's super important. And even if you want that now, do me a favor, just send me a quick email. We will give you a sample purchase contract right now. Even if we have to write a sample one out for you, that's totally okay. Just shoot me a quick email and we'll get that put together for you. Here's the fourth thing I put down. A lot of you guys are interviewing, multiple agents, or maybe you may not be interviewing multiple agents. Maybe you're just going into open houses, or you're walking into new build open houses, or maybe you're just calling on homes on Zillow. All that is totally okay, but I would ask you one question. How are any of the other real estate agents going to get you access to the inventory nobody knows about? Here's what I mean by that. There are a lot of homes on the market right now. One of the homes active on the market right now, or whenever you're ready to start your search, could be the one that's your dream home. But here's the second question. What if it's not? What if your dream home is not on the market right now? What if you have to start prospecting and searching for homes that are not actively for sale? Does your real estate agent have access to that? We do. We use an exclusive platform called Kingston Lane. And in that platform, we have the ability to not only search for homes that other agents have listed, to not only search for homes that other agents have agreements on that are not publicly on the market, but even more important, we have access to a platform that shows us every single home that hasn't sold within a year that's not on the market. We even take that a step further and we're able to find most of their contact info. So when you agree to hire us as your real estate agent, one of the first things that we're going to do is we're going to find all the homes in the market that fit your criteria, and we're going to put together a marketing campaign to see how many of them would consider a sale if it makes sense. It's one of the key reasons why so many clients like you choose to work with us, and we'd be more than happy to deploy that strategy for you. Last but not least, here's what I wrote down. Negotiations are not always around the price. Let me explain what I mean by that. When it comes time to write a competitive offer, assuming there's multiple offers, or maybe you're dealing with a really competitive seller who's stuck on their price, it's not always about the price being up or the price going down. There are a lot of other things that you can negotiate to create a win-win for you and the buyer, or you and the seller, excuse me. We believe that a great transaction happens when a win-win occurs. We could go in there with super aggressive terms, super aggressive negotiation tactics. But if we do that and the seller feels defeated at the end of that negotiation, guess what? The inspection period and the closing period are going to be really stressful. So it's important for us to understand what the needs of the seller are, and more importantly, what the needs of you are, so we can meet in the middle and make sure that's a happy transaction. So what does that look like? You can negotiate closing timeframes. Maybe it's more convenient for the seller to close later. Maybe they're more motivated by a quicker close. If that's the case, they may be willing to take a discount on the price because of that. What about earnest money? In most markets, we see that the average earnest money is around 1% of the purchase price. Sometimes if you put a higher amount of earnest money down, a lot of people will take that as you are a little bit more serious than the average buyer. If you put less than whatever standard in the market of 1% of earnest money down, sometimes the seller will mistake that as you not being committed to the sale or not motivated. So if you want to show a little bit more seriousness, I would highly recommend upping the earnest money. It gives the seller a lot more certainty around your offer. The third thing we included is inspection timeframes. There's an inspection time frame for every contract, and there's a standard one. And then if you want to renegotiate a shorter or a longer one, that could help you as well. Again, like earnest money, if you negotiate a longer one, it could breed some uncertainty in the seller's eyes that may be something that might not be advantageous around what you're looking to accomplish. We're not seeing this nearly as much as we did in years past, but sometimes if you're paying higher for a property and you know you're paying higher for a property, it may be advantageous to waive the appraisal. And the reason why that's important is when the appraisal comes in and it doesn't meet the price that you're paying because maybe we're in an upward shifting market, sometimes lenders will force you to pay the difference on that. That's a big level of uncertainty with today's sellers. And if you waive that, that could give them a little bit more certainty around taking your offer. Next thing is as-is condition sales. We're not huge fans of as-is conditions sales, and what that means is you're agreeing to buy the home at the purchase contract and the current condition of it. Now, if something comes up in the inspection and you don't like it, there's always the way that you can cancel the contract, but you're agreeing to not negotiate any repairs in the process. You're buying it in as-is condition. Again, that gives the seller a lot more certainty over how much money they're going to net at the end of the day, and sometimes that may be enough for them to take a discount on the home. And then the last thing that I wrote down is a potential lease back to an owner. So we talked about a long escrow in case they need the convenience of selling. If you want to close early and lock the deal up, another thing that you may want to consider is a lease back to the seller. Now, they're not super hard to do. There are some risks around it, but when you work with the right agent, there's a lot of protection that can be put in that deal to make sure that you're protected and that process goes as smooth as possible. So I wanted to make this quick. If you follow those 5 key strategies, what I can tell you is buying a home in today's crazy market is going to get a lot easier. You can focus on what you actually love, and you can allow the real estate agent to do what we do obscenely well. If you guys have any questions, I ask you to do one of 2 things. Number 1, you can send us an email at any time. We're available all the time to handle your needs. If you believe that you're ready to buy a home, or maybe you just want to start the process of having that strategy session so you can be prepared, even if you don't want to buy in the next 6 months, or if you're not prepared yet, but you want to be prepared now and go through that strategy session, we're totally okay doing it. Here's how you do that. Below this masterclass, there's a form. Just fill out your name, email, phone, and the best time for us to reach out. However you'd like to have that meeting, like I mentioned earlier, we could do it over phone. We'd be willing to do it over a Zoom webinar. You can come to our office. We'd love to have coffee. If it's convenient for you, we'll even come to your house. Totally up to you. But if you're ready for that strategy session, if you want to know what it's going to take to buy a home in this amazing, dynamic, crazy market, do me a favor, do yourself a favor, fill out the form below, and we'll reach out immediately and see how we can hit the ball out of the park for you. I'm so glad you were able to participate in this Buyer Masterclass. Any questions, let us know. Otherwise, if you're ready, fill out the form below.